The billionaire sat alone in his vast office, signing an expensive check, yet his eyes looked hollow, like success had stolen something important. His female secretary stood beside him, discussing schedules and meetings, but he barely responded, his thoughts drifting far beyond that room. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. He slowly placed the pen down, staring at his signature, wondering why even unlimited money could not bring peace to his restless heart. Without saying another word, he picked up his coat and walked out, leaving his secretary confused, sensing something was very wrong today. The long hallway echoed with his footsteps, each step heavier than the last, as if he was trying to escape an invisible burden. Outside, his luxury car was already waiting, and he quietly stepped inside, his calm face hiding a storm no one could see clearly. As the car moved through the crowded city streets, he watched strangers, wondering how they smiled without having everything he had. Suddenly, his eyes locked onto a busy market ahead, something about the place pulling him in like an unseen force guiding him. "Stop the car," he said softly, unaware that this small decision was about to change the course of his entire life forever. The car slowed near the crowded market, voices and chaos filling the air, something raw and real that his polished world never had. He stepped out slowly, adjusting his coat, but his eyes searched the crowd like he was looking for something he didn't understand yet. Street vendors shouted loudly, children ran past laughing, and for a moment he felt like a stranger in a world full of life. Then his eyes stopped on a small clothing shop where a black, overweight woman stood quietly, watching people pass her by. People around her whispered and laughed, judging her appearance, but she stood still, her eyes carrying pain and silent strength. Something inside him shifted, and without thinking, he walked toward her, ignoring the strange looks people started giving him. She noticed him approaching and looked confused, as if she wasn't used to someone like him even noticing her existence. He greeted her politely, and for a second she hesitated, unsure whether this was kindness or another hidden insult waiting. They began to talk slowly, her voice soft but guarded, while he listened in a way no one had ever listened to her before. And in that brief moment, surrounded by noise and judgment, something unexpected started to grow between two completely different worlds. Later that evening, he returned home, but the silence of his mansion felt heavier than before as her eyes lingered in his mind. He turned on the television, trying to distract himself, but every scene felt empty, as if nothing could match that brief moment. Dinner was served perfectly, as always, but he barely touched the food, his thoughts still lost somewhere in that crowded market. His staff noticed his unusual silence, but no one dared to ask questions because this man was never known to show emotion. He finally stood up, leaving the untouched meal behind, realizing that something inside him had already started to change deeply. That night, he lay in his luxurious bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering why a stranger's pain felt heavier than his own life. Sleep refused to come, as her quiet strength and the way people treated her kept replaying again and again in his mind. He turned from one side to another, restless and uncomfortable, as if his heart was questioning everything he believed before. Hours passed slowly, and for the first time in years, his wealth felt useless against the storm building inside his chest. As the night faded into morning, he finally closed his eyes briefly, unaware that this feeling was only the beginning of something bigger. The next day, he woke up early, his mind still heavy, but this time there was a strange determination growing inside him. He got ready quickly and went to his office, trying to return to his usual routine, but nothing felt the same anymore. A meeting was scheduled with several important people, and they sat around the table discussing numbers and future plans. 4 to 6 people spoke one after another, but his attention kept drifting back to the woman from the market. He tried to focus, but their voices sounded distant, like echoes, while his thoughts stayed stuck on her silent pain. The meeting continued, but it failed to reach any conclusion, as even he showed no interest in pushing things forward. His partners looked confused, because this man was known for sharp decisions, not this strange silence and distraction. Finally, the meeting ended without success, leaving behind an unusual tension that no one could fully understand. He leaned back in his chair, feeling bored and empty, realizing that something far more important was pulling him away. Without wasting time, he stood up, walked out again, and this time his destination was already clear in his heart. He drove straight back to the market, his heart beating faster, unsure why meeting her again felt more important than anything else. The same crowded streets welcomed him, but this time his eyes searched only for one person among all the noise and movement. After a few moments, he saw her again, standing near the same shop, as people once again whispered and judged her silently. Without hesitation, he stepped out of the car and walked toward her, ignoring the stares now directed at both of them together. She looked surprised to see him again, her eyes filled with confusion, as if she couldn't understand why he came back. He smiled gently and asked if she could spare some time, his voice calm but carrying a sincerity she had never experienced. After a brief pause, she agreed quietly, still unsure of his intentions, but something about him felt different and safe. They both sat inside his car, an unusual sight for everyone around, as whispers grew louder about this strange pairing. He then drove her to a quiet hotel, not for luxury, but for a peaceful place where they could talk without judgmental eyes. Inside, they sat across from each other, and for the first time, she slowly began to open up about her painful life. At first, her voice trembled, as if years of silence had locked her words, but slowly her painful story began to unfold. She spoke about how people mocked her body, judged her looks, and treated her like she didn't deserve respect or kindness. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry loudly, because she had learned to hide her pain from a cruel world. He listened quietly, his heart growing heavier with every word, realizing how blind he had been to such hidden suffering. She told him how even her own family felt ashamed of her, making her feel like she never truly belonged anywhere. For a moment, the room fell silent, her words hanging in the air, carrying years of rejection and loneliness. He looked at her differently now, not with pity, but with deep respect for the strength she carried inside. He gently told her that she deserved more than this life, more than the cruel labels people had forced upon her. She looked at him in disbelief, as if no one had ever spoken to her with such sincerity and genuine care before. In that quiet hotel room, something powerful shifted. as two broken worlds slowly began to heal each other. She lowered her gaze, struggling to accept his words, because hope had always been something life took away from her brutally before. He leaned forward slightly, his voice calm and steady, telling her that her worth was never defined by people who only saw the surface. For the first time, her eyes softened, as if a small light had been lit inside a place that had remained dark for many years. He shared his own truth, confessing how money gave him everything except peace, and how emptiness had quietly taken over his life. She listened carefully, realizing that pain does not choose rich or poor. It finds its way into every heart, differently but deeply. Their conversation grew deeper, turning into something real, where masks fell away and two strangers spoke with rare honesty. Hours passed without them noticing, as laughter slowly replaced silence and a strange comfort settled between them gently. For the first time in years, he felt understood without needing to explain himself, something even his closest people never gave him. And for her, it felt like someone finally saw her soul, not her body, breaking the walls she had built to protect herself. That moment changed everything, because both of them realized that this meeting was never accidental. It was something meant to happen. As evening approached, he realized he didn't want this moment to end, but reality slowly reminded them both of their different worlds. He offered to drop her back, and she quietly agreed, though a part of her feared this connection might disappear forever after today. The car ride was silent, but not uncomfortable, as both of them were lost in thoughts they couldn't fully express in words. When they reached her place, she hesitated before stepping out, as if she was leaving behind something she had just found. He looked at her and gently said that this should not be the last time they meet, his voice carrying unexpected sincerity. She was surprised again, unsure if this was real or just a moment that would fade like everything else in her life before. With a soft nod, she stepped out of the car, but her eyes held a question, one that only time could answer slowly. As he drove away, he kept looking in the mirror, watching her figure disappear, but her presence stayed deeply within him. That night, both of them sat in different places, thinking about each other, feeling something new growing silently inside. Neither of them knew it yet, but their lives had already begun to change, and the real test of this connection was still coming. The next few days passed, but he couldn't focus on work, as her words and pain echoed constantly inside his restless mind. He finally returned to the market again, determined to see her. But what he witnessed this time shook him deeply. A group of people stood nearby, laughing loudly, pointing at her, humiliating her in public without any shame or mercy. She stood there silently, trying to ignore them, but her eyes revealed the pain she could no longer fully hide anymore. Without thinking, he rushed forward, his anger rising, something inside him refusing to let this injustice continue any longer. He stood beside her, facing those people, his presence alone silencing the crowd as they recognized who he really was. Then, in front of everyone, he gently held her hand, a simple act that shocked the entire crowd into complete silence. The same people who mocked her now looked confused, realizing that the man they admired was standing with the one they insulted. She looked at him with trembling eyes, unable to believe that someone would stand beside her so openly and fearlessly. In that powerful moment, the world around them faded, and for the first time, she felt seen, respected, and truly valued. From that day on, everything changed, as people who once laughed now lowered their eyes, ashamed of their own cruelty and behavior. He didn't just defend her once, he stood by her again and again, proving that respect is not given by society, but by strong choices. She slowly began to change too, not her body, but her confidence, walking with a strength that no insult could break anymore. The story ends here, but the mystery lives on. Like, subscribe, and return for the next unforgettable journey.